Welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, where feelings aren't felt and snowflakes melt. Buckle up, it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
They painted over ants.
I think a lot of what's come out of the left, in my opinion, is based in insecurity. And here's what I mean by that. Look, I'm fine with if folks
100%.
want to believe whatever they want to believe. They want to act however they want to act. You go do your thing, let me do mine. The whole live and let live philosophy. But what we've discovered over the last 30, 35 years is the left doesn't believe in live and let live. The left not only wants control, they want you to actively buy into their stuff. That's what Pride Month is about. That's what a lot of the educational indoctrination is about. It is about, you must affirm who I am. If you were going to go off and do whatever you want, great. But I think that, they're worried that if someone doesn't agree with them, then they're being attacked as a person. Then maybe there's a sliver that's not right. Obviously, if I was completely right, they would agree with me 100%. So I need to make them agree with me so that I, continue to be right. I think that, now don't get me wrong, there has been some of that on the right, especially in the past.
Yes.
From, forced prayer to, certain regimens in school that has existed. But I think currently it exists on the left. Maybe it's just a human trait. I would, again, if you want to go do whatever you want to do, whether that's, you want to dress in drag, or, you want to, be sexually deviant on your own and have a body count over 300, or, you want to go, do your midnight basketball or whatever, that's fine. You go do you. But it's when you are trying to force me and others to celebrate these delusions and these perversions, that's when the pushback occurs. And I think the push-pull of this is, if there wasn't the, screeching attempt to make us all celebrate it, the right would be fine backing off and leaving folks alone. But when the right backs off and leave folks alone, I think the left, they can't stand that people are doing live and let live, so that's when they go. So it's the balance the scales go out of balance in that regard. So I don't know how we overcome that. It used to be, in this country, the federal government took care of very few things. Most of the things that went on in your life happened at the local level. So we could disagree on other stuff. Folks in Vermont could run things differently from folks in Alabama. We could have those differences, and there was a broad swath of things that we could agree on. National defense, exporting stuff, that kind of thing, as opposed to now California wants to make Texas and Florida live like California, as opposed to leaving them to their own devices. And that's where, at the heart of it, that's where a lot of the stuff in the Civil War occurred. Don't get me wrong, slavery was a big part of it, but what the Civil War really boiled down to was power and the expansion of political power, and folks wanting their own way of life, whether it was slavery, whether it was not slavery, because folks either supported slavery or didn't support slavery tended to vote and enact certain policies in certain ways. So it wasn't necessarily the end of slavery that sparked the Civil War. It was the restriction of its expansion through the nation, and then thus the restriction of political power on one side or the other. And that's what causes a lot of stuff. As I've mentioned to one person on Facebook, most revolutions occur through the perception of relative inequity. When one side thinks the other side is either has more or is getting away with more, then that's going to spark a fight. And it does make me real sad, because that's something we've avoided up to now. And whether it's, a year from now, a year and a half from now, or whether it is 6 years from now, I don't see a way out of it. I'd like to, but I think it's inevitable.
Just sitting here thinking about a couple of things you said. I agree with you, and I'm not qualifying things when I say this. I've said it many times. I am not a registered Republican for a lot of reasons, and I think you're right. When the right slips, it slips into sanctimony. And I had a conversation with my half brother years ago, and he's a dyed in the wool. He's not a he's not an original thinker. He's very smart and can analyze things using facts and figures and all that. He's a smart guy. Wouldn't say, as far as politics go, I wouldn't say original thinker. A lot of platitudes, and I told him, I said, that's my problem with the Republican Party in history, is the platitudinous thought. Ever since Reagan has been gone, it's kind of migrated towards that, and we can slip into sanctimony, and it's unnerving to me. I don't like sanctimony either. I can sound sanctimonious when I'm sitting here preaching about the difference in the ethics between the right and the left, but it's not sanctimony. I think some of it's very empirical. So libertarianism appeals to me for a lot of reasons, and it's not just that. I mean, de Tocqueville and Locke and all the history of reading shit. I was even influenced by Kant to a very large extent, some of his ideals, but that I really, really am scared of that sanctimony. But I'll tell you what, I'll take sanctimony any day over what we're seeing. What right now is my point. I will take that sanctimonious. I will take a Margaret Atwood novel over what I'm seeing right now, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek. I don't want that either. For those of you out there, relax. But that version of dystopia is disgusting to me as well. That's why I'm a libertarian. But this is just fucking chaos. It's a mess. It's a mess, ladies and gentlemen. This is not. I'm to the point now, and I don't care who knows it. I'm not going to be polluting my personal Facebook with this stuff. But if you support this administration and whatever philosophy they don't have, which is a complete lack of a philosophy, it's just tearing everything down, you are not a loyal American. You don't understand what this country is about. You don't love the values that this country has or what this country's accomplished. There's nothing perfect about the United States of America. Unfortunately, as we were discussing, that rot is from the top down now. It's on the inside. The stuff that Trump was talking about, and just for you Trump loyalists out there, there's a lot I respect about what Trump accomplished and what his attitudes are towards the government. The whole draining the swamp thing, he's right. But the swamp is huge. It's bigger than the Everglades, and it's deadly, and it's thick, and it's nasty. So from my libertarian point of view, yeah, I think there needs to be that guardian, that, for lack of a better word, that old school liberal guardian against what the right can do with sanctimony and like you said, not forcing, but just, the religion down the throat, like frickin' Pat Buchanan back in the 90s, and some of the other stuff that really, really got my stomach upset. But my God, literally, where are we now? Where are we now down that slope, Russ? I know we've been blabbering on, but my heart hurts, man. And when I heard about this indictment and the 37 charges, there was a big part of me that goes, good. Hopefully this is the match that lights the powder keg, because it's about fucking time that decent people do something other than sit around and go, we'll get through this. And I like you, I hope that powder keg, that thing that blows up, isn't people taking shots at each other. But by God, it's time. Get off your ass and vote. Get off your ass and support. Tell people to shut the fuck up when they're trying to tell you what to think, do, or say. It's time. I don't care if it's in the grocery line. I don't care if it's on the bus. I don't care if it's people protesting. Shut the fuck up. Keep who you share your genitals with to yourself. Stay away from the children. Quit fucking false flagging and red herring everything like, oh, we should keep people from going to church until they're 18. Shut up. Don't try to false equivalence things. Stop it. You want me to destroy you with logic? Thank you, Jesuits. I will all day long. Okay. It doesn't take a genius to figure out how stupid this stuff is. I'm not a bigot. I'm not a hater of people because they disagree with me. But guess what? They hate me because I disagree with them.
I want to go off with a couple of things you said. One, we talked about the church community back in the 20s and 30s, somewhat in the 50s. We're trying to push people towards some of that, but it hasn't happened in a long time. I had a conversation with someone when I brought up that the left controls the cultural levers of power, education, entertainment, and the media. I asked, so what lever of power does the right control? And the answer I got back was, well, they control the churches. I'm like, well, that's great, but what influence do the churches have in modern culture? I mean, you got Sam Smith on stage portraying Satan. You got basically people getting pornography any way they want it for free. The churches have no cultural influence. Moreover, I've been in the evangelical community. I think that folks, while the caricature may have been true 60, 70 years ago, I don't think that that's accurate any longer. I don't know any evangelical any longer who's like, yeah, I want to make people pray to God. Mostly it's about, hey, I want to convince people, I want to save them, is the general tone, but no one's going out saying we're going to mandate prayer in school and we're going to make everybody go to church on Sunday and all this other stuff. So I think a lot of that's a caricature based on fears by a lot of folks. And then one thing when you finished up, let me make this clear. All right. And again, it's going to anger some people. Trump is not a good person. Okay. As a person, Trump is not a good person. But there's also not a good person in DC trying to go after Trump. I think when I say swamp, I'm including a lot of that in there. I think a lot of it is which power dynamic will prevail. I think that, it would have been, how would the West, the Allies, England, the United States, France, how would they have reacted if Germany had simply turned and gone after Soviet Russia? Because that would have been a battle between two evil despotic regimes that everybody thought needed to be destroyed. The only reason we allied with the Soviet Union was because we were already fighting Hitler. I believe it was Winston Churchill who said that if Hitler invaded hell, Satan would at least get a favorable mention on the floor of the House of Commons. So I don't see a good faction or person in DC. I see people arguing over which power dynamic will prevail. Now, the beauty of the Founding Father system, which we have long since abandoned, was they recognized that people suck, people are shitty, so we want to give them as few opportunities as possible to gather power unto themselves. That's one of the reasons why they diffused our democracy. It hasn't really worked out very well since, because Congress has long since surrendered its prerogatives in determining laws and policies of this nation. It has handed that authority over to unelected bureaucrats in the executive branch. We tend to elect a pseudo dictator every 4 years. We think we've elected this one person. The presidency was never supposed to be like that. I hear a lot of people talk about, well, it's all about democracy. Bullshit. Let me say this perfectly clear so people understand this. The country was never about democracy. The country was about liberty. It was about freedom. Democracy was simply seen as the best tool to get there because it diffused power. But it was never supposed to be about, we're fighting to preserve democracy. No, we're fighting to preserve liberty and freedom, and democracy is usually how we get there. As the Mel Gibson character in Patriot said, an elected legislature can trample a man's rights as easily as a king can, if they all get the mob mentality. The reason that we go towards diffusing that power is because a large number of people with competing interests are more likely to not be able to impose themselves on a populace as one person or a very small select band. But everybody is fighting over power. We have long since lost the dispersion of power and giving the government so few responsibilities. Because I think everybody thinks, well, if I have power, then I'll make it a utopia. No, dumbass. The Founding Fathers made it so that no one person or small group of people could get power because they know that mankind can't create utopia. But everybody seems to think they can do it. So we've chipped away at that founding vision for so long that now I think the Founding Fathers, and that includes even the most staunch Federalists of the time, of like, and Alexander Hamilton would look at what the government has grown into today at the federal level, and they would be appalled, just because it's well beyond what any of them ever actually. I mean, they were fighting against that shit. So I think we've strayed. I don't know that it's recoverable within our lifetimes, because again, most conflicts don't resolve themselves amicably into creating greater liberty and freedom. They usually descend into tyranny.
That was probably your best rant since we've been doing this. No, I appreciate that. It was just full of I don't know if your best, but I was just chock full of quotes.
I've had some good ones.
Yeah. Mine tend to be more loud and passionate. I had a good one earlier, but I love everything you said. I won't even bother to go back over it. The one thing that I do find interesting, and I'll wrap this up, and then we'll wrap up. I want to get your quick opinion on what's going to happen. What your prediction is, and then we can wrap this podcast up, because believe it or not, we've been at it for an hour and a half again already. The irony to this is that those that say that and I talk about sanctimony, and you mentioned right at the beginning of your very well placed speech there, those who have a problem with people who do push church and conservatism and values and stuff like that, and who have railed against the history of that, are now the ones pushing that. You have to believe in climate change. You have to believe in trans agendas. You have to believe in that, or you can't participate. The irony is not lost, and I hope it's not lost on the people out there that everything's shifted now. And when people get into power and they say, well, it's about time, it's about, you're what's called a fucking hypocrite, and you're what's called a bully and a tyrant at that point. If you see something wrong, but you replicate that wrong based on your own viewpoint, it actually makes you worse. It actually makes you worse than the original perpetrator. And that crux of that struggle is part of like every movie, every good story, every good book ever written, right? That protagonist, that inner struggle between right and wrong, left and right, good and evil, all that kind of thing. You become evil when you purposely usurp that power and use it that you thought was an evil power to begin with. It makes it, I think, multiplied exponentially worse. You see a wrong, you try to right that wrong, but you use the very method of that wrong to make your point. That's what's going on in this country now. So anyway, I'll stop with that. Your prediction real quick. The outcome of this whole, we've been talking about the Trump thing in and out and gotten off on a few segues, but it's all been related. Your prediction.
Well, my prediction, I think I already stated it. It's going to end up in a civil war. I don't know if Trump gets convicted or not. I don't think that the merits of the case are relevant at this point, and B, I don't think the outcome of the case is relevant at this point. I laid out my two scenarios. Whether it is a quick burn or a slow burn, if it's a slow burn, the way it probably unfolds is it will start off with the selected targeting of leaders on one side or the other. Then someone is going to get the bright idea to go after an entire community by sabotaging an electrical grid or crashing a banking system or something like that. And it's going to descend into chaos from there. Whether one side or the other can build back up and create a coherent organization of opposition and kind of seize the reins at that point, I don't know. I can't foresee the outcome of all of it. I can only foresee that, because the Civil War, and again, I'm praying to God I'm wrong. Some folks have said, no, you want to be right. No, I really, really and truly don't want to be right. But I have the same feeling I had in the spring of 2002, just before I took command. And I said, we're going to Iraq. I don't see any way around it. I have the same feeling I had in August of 1990 when, say, Saddam invaded Kuwait, and I said, we're going to war with Iraq because I don't see any way around it. I have the same, and this is going to sound really weird when I say this, I have the same feeling I had during the 1981-82 NCAA college basketball season when I expected the University of North Carolina to win from the moment the season began. And shockingly enough, yeah, they won the national title. It's the same feeling. I think that it's going to go down that road. I'm praying to God I'm wrong. But at this point, because things are so lopsided, and again, I don't think the merits of the case matter. I don't think the outcome of the case matters. I just think that the tit for tat thing is going to keep happening until it goes kinetic in either a big explosion or a slow burn. And God help us all when it does. I wish I could be more optimistic. I would love nothing more than to come back here in a few years and say, you know what? I was completely wrong about that. I think I underestimated the resilience of the American people and the American political system, and we did move past it, or people were too apathetic to let it get that far. I'd love to come back and be able to say that. I just don't think I'm going to be able to.
Yeah, I fear you're right. I think we've critical mass has been reached. My peeps, I talked to a lot of my peeps, and it's beyond pissed off now. Yeah, you got to defend it at some point. I'll leave it at that. I do have my prediction is that that these folks on the left are going to apologize, and they're going to come and give us hugs and say we love Jesus, and we were wrong, and we should never have tried to make you guys buy into all. Okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and moving right off on our magical unicorns after that.
Right. I think what's more likely to happen is Elon Musk will become universe commander and appoint me chief of staff and give me my own fiefdom of the planet of Mars. That could happen. That'd be cool.
Along with the harem of porn stars for you.
Come on, I don't want porn stars.
Your harem of virgins that act like porn stars.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I don't want virgins either. Thank you. Somewhere in between. Smart chicks that would be my personal porn stars. That's all I've ever wanted anyway. And by the way, you know, if you get all these, I've made all those predictions too, by the way. And when 9/11 happened, I told everybody we're going to war, and like, oh, with who? It's like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We're going to war, Middle East. Trust me. 3 years later, we were there. I'll just call you Quasi-Damas from now on. It's like combination.
Quasi-Damas, okay.
How's that?
I like that.
I'll let people figure out what I mean by that.
Yeah, well, I would like to think the nice way of I'm sort of like Nostradamus, but I also caught the Quasimodo reference. So
cool. No, I knew you'd get it. I think we'll wrap up there. I'm just looking over my notes for today to see if there's anything else. We've hit everything that we wanted to talk about. But yeah, I'm gonna. I mean this sincerely. You know, this isn't one of those cases where you can just let like you mentioned in history, you let the bad people duke it out and see what happens. I mean, I do that in Fallout 4 all the time. You know, I'll be wandering along the wasteland there, and I'll see a super mutant and a rad scorpion, you know, duking it out, and I just wait to see who dies, and then I take down the guy who's, you know, got a few hit points gone too. So but you can't do it in this case. It's not the case. I just totally got lost in that stupid analogy there. I just have something I was going to say.
You're old.
Yeah, we'll try to get this up. I'll get this up tomorrow afternoon. I got some time to do that tomorrow afternoon, and having a tough time with we didn't get the last video up, and that's my fault, but I'm having a tough time with internet connection, CenturyLink, and I'm going to badmouth them here on the episode. It's my modem has been worse than normal. There's been something going on out here where I live, and I've got almost no. I'm glad we got through this. I was worried about the connection. I was trying to watch a TV show from I got hooked. Okay, we'll go out on a positive note. And real quick, what I was going to say, I remember what I was going to say is I'm definitely going to keep this in prayer. I'm definitely going to keep this.
I pray about it literally every day.
Constant in prayer. And I would ask anybody out there listening, including my group of Salvation Warriors out there, that we keep this in constant prayer, because it needs it. It absolutely needs it. And I do have faith. I do. I hope this isn't another one of those Old Testament type of renderings, though. That's all I'm going to say. I got hooked on a show that I had heard about back in the day. Don't make fun of me, but it's actually, I can't help it. I'm like almost done with all. I have TV on when I'm doing other things in the background. Did you ever watch Joan of Arcadia back in the day?
No,
You know what that is?
I've heard the show term. I literally know nothing about it.
Well, I mean, it's the acting is great. It's got Mary Steenburgen and Joe Mantegna in it as the parents. Excuse me. So it's a Amber Tamblyn who's like hotter than shit, but she's married to like the worst human being on planet Earth in modern day. Guy, comedian named David Cross, who I can't fucking stand. Um, he's a horrible human being, and he's ugly. But anyway, she
Isn't that the guy that played in? Didn't he play in like the Chipmunk movies?
the what now?
Didn't he play in the Chipmunk movies?
This is going to be good pot. I have somebody at my door. Hold on. Hi.
There, and I left the trash bags on.
Oh, thank you. No, that's okay. Thank you so much, though. I appreciate your help. That was cool.
Awesome. By the way, yes, I know. I just googled real quick. I know who David Cross is. That guy's he's a douche.
He's a douche. He's a leftist douche, and he's ugly as sin. And he's got this hot wife, Amber Tamblyn, which I don't.
He's also one of the ones that's going to get us into this mess because he's been talking in the past. Oh, come on, take me on, man. We'll go at it, and I'll knock you. I'll knock you out. And I'm like, dude, you couldn't knock out a flower. I mean,
what universe is that? I would love it. Maybe I should start trolling him. See if he wants to meet me in the parking lot of the old Yardbirds in Chehalis.
That would last. All you do is move in his direction. He would faint and hit his head on the concrete.
You're a lefty, terrible comedian, shit actor who somehow talked this hot chick into marrying you. Anyway, yeah, I fucking hate that guy. When I saw she was married to him, because I do a deep dive on actors and actresses and directors and stuff every time. But anyway, it's just a high school girl who God just starts talking to her and talks to her in the guise of different people that she comes across and has her live these life lessons. And her dad's the chief of police and going through stuff, and her mom, Mary Steenburgen. It's just really good, and it's good. I don't know. It just presents things in a different way. It doesn't get into the Christianity aspect of it, just kind of generic. And I love some of the stuff. I was watching an episode recently, and she said something like, I can't remember. She's like asking, and I apologize for my bleached out shit. I got to get a new camera.
I was just noticing that.
Oh my God. And it's been like that. I've had like this round circle the entire time, but I sit in front of a south facing window and I don't have any blinds on it yet. I ordered them, but they're not here yet.
The divine glow. You were starting to come alive with the spirit.
I mean the red and then that circle on my forehead that looks like I'm greased up like a bowling alley. Anyway, she said something to God and he goes, "Why do you have to analyze everything I say or all my words so much? That's how wars get started." I thought that was kind of cute. Anyway, yeah, so they only had it around for 2 seasons, but I'm like, God, this was really good. What was I? Oh yeah, I was in the army doing shit. It was like 2003, 2004. We were kind of busy, speaking of, but anyway, so
I'm trying to catch up on Manifest and the Silo.
I'm caught up on the Silo. It's a slow burn, man. I like it, but wow.
It was actually the concept is based off of a mini novel called called Wool. And that I've actually interviewed that guy from my website, the author of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He went to school when I went to school at Appalachian State. He's from Gastonia, North Carolina. We corresponded a little bit, 8-9 years ago. I haven't talked to him since. He lives on a boat off the coast of South Africa, I think now. But it's one of the things that drew me to the show was it was written by Hugh Howey.
Oh, okay.
And so
I've heard the name. I've never read anything by him. I've heard the name. Sure. How come you've never interviewed Orson Scott Card then? If all about Carolina and shit.
Well, because I think Orson Scott Card is a little bit too big a name for me. Back when I interviewed Hugh, he was a nobody. I doubt I could get an interview today.
I would love to pick Orson Scott Card's brain. Boy, he has some of the most brilliant. He had some shit that he did later on, especially his collaborations. I love, but some of his stuff is just.
I can't even get William Fortune or Larry Correa to respond back to me. I'm not going to be able to get an Orson Scott Card to respond back to me.
You never know. He seems like a nice guy. He's a Latter-day Saint. They tend to be nice people. Most of my LDS friends are pretty awesome people. So anyway,
I could try, but to be fair, over the last month, my website has not. I haven't been able to keep it up as much. Life's been fairly busy, and my motivation is down on posting on it. I need to do that more, but one of the other, and it's going to be a complete whine. I need some cheese with this, but coming up with new topics to to occupy the blog 3 days a week,
Yeah.
it is very challenging.
I understand.
I try to keep my topics confined to something involving writing and storytelling for that blog, and there's only so much you can go over.
Right. No, I understand.
I did get to my big catch real quick, since we are talking about this and it's a positive note. My big coup that I got to interview a year and a half ish ago. I don't know if you've heard of Alan Dean Foster.
Mhm. He did a lot of the Star Wars novels, right?
Yes, I got to interview him because what happened was, I guess he was screwing around on the internet and he came across my blog. And he, my name, for those who don't know, there's a early 1970s softcore porn producer named Russ Meyer. And Alan Dean Foster commented making some joke on my name. And I remember I was like, Alan, is that you? Haha, joking. And he was like, hey, dude, go to my website, email me. Yeah, it's me. And I was like, let me interview you. And at first he kind of hemmed and hawed about it, but I was like, dude, I love the Damn trilogy. I love Quazzle. I've read the Star Wars novel. Just here, I'll send you the questions. Get them back to me whenever you want. And he was very accommodating and did that. And so that's my big coup, is I got to interview one of my 5 favorite authors. But
That's awesome.
other than that, I the big names, I sent a couple of interview requests to some folks and I don't get anything back.
No, I know. I was working that angle that I told you with a guy who's becoming a big deal now before he was a big deal, a certain woke anti-woke rapper. I was working that, and he's getting way too big for us now. So, we'll see. Yeah, he's kind of exploded. We'll talk about that in some other podcast, but and I'm glad to see it. He's a talented guy. Anyway, I was just gonna leave off with one more quick share for us, Russ.
Okay.
Just real quick, let me go ahead and get into this. Let's see. Oh, damn it. I have to go through all that again, don't I?
Folks listening, this is good podcasting.
It is good. Well, they're not going
to, on the edge of your seat.
They're not going to hear this. I'm editing all this shit out from now on.
No, we're going to leave this in. This is good banter back and forth.
No, it's not. So just one last share. I just want to share this for everybody. You're welcome, everybody. All right.
That's gotten more interaction on YouTube than almost anything we've done.
Yeah, TikTok, Instagram. Oh yeah, I had thousands and thousands of likes and shares on that one from when I posted that one. So
and a few dislikes.
That's kind of sad when you think about it.
Yeah.
All the poignant points we try to make it. It's fat shaming video that I put together. You got to admit the Bikini Atoll nuclear explosion there. It's genius. I don't know if genius.
Girls, listen to me very carefully. You don't get to talk about you wanting a guy over 6 feet if the guy's not allowed to have standards on what you weigh.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. And we love you all. Well, we don't. But I'm saying that I do like that meme. It wasn't my original meme about if everybody talks about how Lizzo is so beautiful, how come women get mad when I say you're as pretty as Lizzo?
Got a point.
It's
like right, everybody guys. Loved Adele when she was fat, but that was because she was not a threat to their looks. When she got skinny, suddenly people didn't like her anymore.
Well, I'll say one last thing. Keep your powder dry. Make sure you have that 3-in-1 household oil. Get those actions nice and oiled and leave it up. Make sure all those round casings are nice and clean before you put them in the magazine. That's all I'm going to say.
Awesome.
All right, guys. From Russ and Cope, 2 grumpy bastards. Remember, keep your focus.
Stay wokeless.